All right, so as we approach our last hands-on assignment, I want to introduce this by looking at some historic ceramics. You're going to need to pick a historic culture or historic ceramic style, and you're going to need to make something that is inspired by that. All right, so it's not a copy, right? It's just inspired by. Okay, inspired by. All right, and we want that to be by something historic, right? So we're looking for old stuff, not contemporary stuff. So I'm showing you some ancient Nubian pots here. You can see some decoration on them. I'm not giving you the opportunity to decorate because I'm not providing you materials for decoration, but all of these lines and linear kind of accents that are put on the surface of these forms could actually be carved in. And I would almost recommend, if you want to do some surface decoration, carving is probably the best. If you're adding material, it needs to be really well slip and scored, or else it tends to kind of fall off. And if you are going to carve something, remember you need to make that something kind of thick. So you can be inspired by the form, right? You can be inspired by the form of something. You can be inspired by the surface of it. You could be inspired by something from the culture that's not necessarily directly related to the pot. So again, these first two slides, 4 pots, these are of ancient Nubia. That's basically the area going south on the Nile River below Egypt on the African continent, very rich in all continents are rich in ceramics. I'll just cover some here. So here's more ancient Nubian ceramics. Really beautiful how that constricts and where there's a place for that handle. You can see some Mediterranean influence in that neck. Appears the wheel has been invented here, so there's some hand building and some wheel there, whereas the first ones are definitely probably all hand built, coil built probably. Here's an Etruscan piece. Really strong reverse curve right there, almost looks like a bowl with a reverse curve sitting on top of it. This is called a Greek geometric figure. It's not the best image, but you can see that the surface decoration is very simplified. All right, the horses don't really look like horses, but they obviously, are trying to depict a horse, but it doesn't really look like a horse. The people are kind of simplified. Again, really strong form, super strong handles, right? Maybe you just made some vases that had that shoulder and that kind of handle configuration, and boom, you're inspired by this. I've been looking at some African figure sculpture, primarily of heads, because I'm teaching clay sculpture right now. I also show these in my straight sculpture class. These are heads from East Africa. This is from the Nok civilization. Pretty simplified, yet you see there's some expression on the face, right? So these are generally coil built and then kind of carved away. Coil built really thick and carved away. Some adding going on, and these are pretty early. In other words, very old. These are less old, kind of from nearby the same area, but different cultures. This is the NOK, the Nok culture. This would be Ife, I-F-E, Ife culture. Sometimes you can find some of these Ife heads if you search Benin, ancient Ife or ancient Benin ceramic heads. Amazing the difference. Nok is very simplified, and then you look here. I mean, the texture of the clay where it makes up the lip is different than the texture of the cheek. Super representation of these Ife heads. Really quite unbelievable. Here's a image of them seen in multiples. But you can see that here where you see the opening, you're kind of like, wow, those are kind of like pots, but they're not. They're heads. But they could be made similarly. Coil built for sure. Here are these crazy figurines that come to us out of early Japanese ceramics, the Jimon culture, and some Jimon pots. We've looked at these, but I'm really just showing you some options of things that you could, be inspired by to make your final push for your final assignment. And you can make multiples of these. You don't have to make just one. Now, if it's a really big piece, maybe you make just one. If it's a smaller, simpler piece, this figurine is very involved. It's a smaller, simpler piece, like this Mississippian piece. This is Mississippian. It's an archaeological name we gave to some Indians that we came into contact with in North America. I really like how the rim of this bowl is suggestive of arms, or maybe it's a belly. But these are relatively simple forms, so maybe you would make a few of them. Whereas if you were going to build this coil pot and do like a big carving of an octopus, maybe you'll only do one. Maybe you do a small one and then try a bigger one, right? In case the bigger one breaks or something. So it's really to just be inspired by, identify with something and then try to remake it. Of course, the Mimbres, we've looked at the Mimbres. Again, I'm not giving you surface decoration materials, so this would be something you would carve into your piece. So really, coming into our final 2 months, there's going to be 3 to 4 weeks, like the last month of class is all going to be review and give us time to get stuff fired. So you really only have like 14 weeks total to work on hands-on stuff. So, can you go back and redo assignments? Yes, you can, hands-on assignments. But, as I'm introducing this, it means we've got about 4 weeks left to work with clay. So, that would typically be, November in the fall term, and then in the spring term, it would be the month of April, right, that we have left to work with wet clay. So you want to pick a topic and you want to kind of get moving. And of course, yes, you can go back and revisit old assignments, remake things if you feel like you could do a better job. This is Neolithic, a Neolithic or so Stone Age piece from China. Really amazing, this like 3-lobed kind of base, or maybe you like how the spout and the lip, or the spout and the neck meet. So maybe that's something you focus on. Again, taking anything from any of these pieces and simply being inspired by that and then recreating something that shows some sort of link. That's what I'm asking you to do. All right.